So we are going to start standing at the end of your mat, either end, with our feet and our legs about 6 bones distance apart. So you're going to be, about 4 or 5 inches between your ankles. And I want you to really feel your heels and your feet on your mat, on the floor, as you stand nice and tall. And you can go hands on your hips or down at your side, whatever's going to help you set your shoulders down the back of the rib cage, down the back, so you're not shrugging or putting too much tension into your neck. And we're going to rock forward to the toes, and then we're going to rock back into our heels, and we're going to sway at the ankle. So we're moving at the ankle joint, moving our body weight from our heels forward along the foot to the ball of the foot and across the toes. And you can kind of spread those toes wide across your mat as we rock. So you can feel the shift of your body weight. Now we're going to pause at center. Feel your center of gravity near the ankle joint, so more heel, ankle, through to the ball of the foot, and we're going to rise up onto the ball of the foot, lifting the heel. So heels are going to lift, we're going to roll up onto the ball of the foot, onto the toes, and then slowly descend back to the mat, as slowly as you can manage. As we're lifting up off of our heels onto the ball of the foot, we want to create that tension all the way up the leg. Not so much in the arch of the foot, but that we're bringing that tension up, those lower leg muscles, up into the hamstrings, into your glutes, and then all that tension kind of keeps traveling up through pelvic floor, lower, middle, upper abdominals, as you roll those shoulders back and down, and then slow on the descent back. Let's do one more heel raise, trying to stretch and lengthen and lift as tall as we can. And slowly shifting ourselves back to the mat. And we're going to rock onto our heels, lifting the ball of the foot up off of the mat. We'll rock back onto the heel, lifting the toes, and then placing the toes flat. This one's a little bit more challenging, requires a bit more weight. Feel free to grab onto a wall or a chair, something to stabilize you as you lift the heels and the ball of the foot. You could also go one at a time. So if you don't have anything to hold on to, you could always lift the left foot, bring the toes, the top of the foot up towards the shin, and then place it down. And then bring the toes, ball of the foot up on the right. You're putting that weight on the heel. And then just alternate side to side if you can't do both. As you're lifting the toes, the ball of the feet up off of the mat, we're getting more extension out of the knee. So we're really firing that quad at the front of the thigh to bring the top of the foot up towards the shin, squeeze those glutes. And we'll go for 2 more. And we'll set the feet, and let's bend the knees, because that lift of the toes really puts a lot of extension on the knee. And we'll just bend the knees, just sit a little bit, and standing back up, stretching tall. Knees drive forward, we push and stretch the feet across the mat. And 1 more. We're going to work with spinal articulation. For those of you that should not articulate your spine, create any flexion in your back, you can just hinge at the hip to maintain that flat back while we're working those roll downs. For those of you that are articulating, our arms are going to reach straight up for the ceiling, and then fold and curl, chin to chest, fold at the mid-ribs. We're going to curl and roll down, trying to keep the legs as vertical as possible as we curl down and just let ourselves hang towards the floor. We're going to walk our hands over to the left, to the outside of that left foot and leg, and then walk the hands, the fingers around over to the right side. And we'll come back to center, little bend in the knee. Slide the shoulders down the back, tailbone tucks. We push away from the floor and we curl and roll up, reaching the arms up nice and tall. Going back into your next roll down. For those of you that are working that flat back, just hinging at the hip and you're reaching forward, reaching out, and then you're rotating a little bit over to that left side, while those of you who are forward flexed are walking your hands around to the outside of that left foot, and then flat back, twist to the right. Just finding that movement. And you can also bend the knees and restack, hinging up or rolling and curling the spine. Last one, we forward fold, tuck and curl, rolling all the way down to the mat, letting the head hang, feeling the weight from the heels all the way across the bottom of the foot to the toes, and then you twist and walk around to the outside of that left foot, and around and over to the outside of the right foot. Hands come to the center, and we're going to curl and restack or hinging up. Standing up nice and tall, nice and long. We're still in our parallel leg position, and we're going to sit down. Imagine that you're sliding your back and your hips up and down a vertical wall, which means the heels connect into the mat as the knees bend forward and you slide down. You're going to move about a quarter or a third of the way into your usual squat depth, and then we'll press and we'll stand back up. Shoulders down, ribs are in. We're trying to keep that alignment of the hip and the shoulder right over the heel and the ankle. And then we press up. Arms can be reaching forward, they could be at your hips or even across the chest. The farther out your arms are, the more counterbalance you have, the closer they are to you, the more challenge there is. Or even if you want to take it a notch up, let's interlace our fingers, bring our hands behind our head, open the chest, and then you bend the knees, press the heels down, you slide down that wall. And then slow to straighten and lift and extend. With our fingers interlaced, hands behind our head, we're going to lift the head, neck, and chest up for the ceiling, extending through the mid-upper back, keeping the tension off our low back because we're activating our glutes, pulling our abdominals to our spine, and then we reset back to neutral. So it's just a movement of the chest and the shoulder blades back into extension. Imagine if you were pressing the front of your body flat up against a wall, your bottom ribs through your waist and the front of your hips would stay in contact with that wall, so you wouldn't add any extension to the low back. It would just be the chest moving back and away from that wall. Stay strong through the legs and the hips as you hinge back into extension. Let's do one more. This is a great one too to work in if we're doing prone work where we're laying on our stomachs and we're doing those basic back extension exercises and you don't want to be laying on your stomach. You can do all that stuff standing as well. So we're back to a nice tall standing position. Let's take a mat width stance with our feet, and we're going to turn the toes out slightly about 5 or 10 degrees so we can externally rotate the leg from the hip a bit easier. And we're going to squat a little bit lower, finding more depth. We're going to push the knees forward, reach the hips back as we create a slight bow in the upper body, and we sit down into that squat, holding for a breath, and then slow as we stand up, creating that full extension, that full length of your legs and your torso before returning back into that squat position. Hands in front gives you some nice counterbalance. You can always go hands to the hips or to the chest. And again, to create more challenge, fingers interlaced, hands behind the head will make it the hardest. Feel the weight of the feet from heel through the toes connected to the floor. Your knees are driving out over the center of the foot. So you're trying to spread the legs out, almost like you're trying to tear the mat apart down the middle between your feet and your legs. And the hips reach back. We've got a little arch, that natural curve of the low back as you sit back. Last two. And standing up nice and tall. We're going to stay in our wide stance, and we're going to roll up off of the heels onto the ball of the foot. We lift the heels up, finding that balance and that engagement up the back of the leg, and then slow to lower. As we're lowering, we're trying not to compress the leg, compress the back. We want to keep that length through the legs and through the body. You can always have a wall or a chair or use your foam roller in that vertical position for a prop to balance. Lifting up, full weight on the ball of the foot. One more. And slow to descend and come back down. Let's bring our right leg forward, our left leg back. We're going to be in our split stance. And make sure that the back leg is as squared off as it can be. It's very easy to have that leg and foot turned out or sometimes turned in. And we want to really try to square the leg off. The more open your stance is, meaning your right leg's kind of off to the right a little bit, your left leg's out to the left, the more balance you have, the more balance and stability you have. The more you walk inland for that nice straight line like you're walking a tightrope, the more balance is required. So find that sweet spot. I always say start a little bit in that wider stance, and then you can work your way in. We're going to bend both knees, lifting the left heel off of the mat, and we're going to slowly lower towards the floor, keeping that vertical upper body, and then slow to press up to that nice tall position. Both knees bend, and you lower. Trying to keep my left thigh vertical as I drop that knee towards the floor. You don't need to go all the way to the ground, especially if those last few inches are so challenging that you have to twist and shift out of a nice stable position to get down all the way to the floor, or getting up out of that position. It's really challenging. There's a lot of translation, a lot of movement out of alignment to get you back up. Feel the weight in that front right foot through the whole bottom of the foot. One more. And then we're going to forward fold or hinge out over that front right leg. Both legs are straight. And you're going to lower to the floor, rounding over that front right leg. You can drop that left heel down so both feet are flat, both legs are straight and stretching. may need to walk it back a bit more into that lunge stretch with the back knee off of the mat. Back leg is nice and straight. Shoulders down, ribs are in, belly's pulling in nice and tight. And then we'll hinge back again. Back to that split stretch. And we'll step forward with the left leg. Feet are side by side. And we'll either hinge flat back or curl round back to push up and restack nice and tall. We'll step back with the right foot, right leg. Make sure that that right foot is squared off, facing forward. The heel's not turned in or out. And then we'll lift the right heel once you're all squared off. And we're going to bend both knees, bodies upright as we lower to the mat. And slow to rise. Back up to that nice tall position. You don't have to lower all the way those first few reps. Warm up this lunge. You can always hold on to a wall or a chair or roller as you lower for more balance. Trying to create that nice clean movement. And feel the weight in that front left foot from the heel all the way through to the toes. One more. And then we'll hinge or roll forward over that front left leg. Hands can come down to the leg or the mat, and then press the right heel down. So we're in this forward stretch. Shoulders slide down the back. Ribs knit in. And then we'll bend that left knee forward, lift the right heel. You may have to open the stance a little bit more. So you're in that lunge stretch with your back right leg straight, shoulders down. Ribs and abdominals are knitted in. Holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Legs straighten, and we're going to step forward with that right foot, right leg. Knees are slightly bent. You're either going to flatten your back if you're going to hinge up, or round and curl, rolling back up and restacking. Stepping back to the end of the mat, I'm going to work into an inchworm stretch. For those of you that are staying away from that deep forward fold, forward flexion, you could work a center plank either off the mat, off of a stable chair or a wall if you don't want to do that forward fold. For the inchworm, we're going to start with arms reaching tall. We're going to curl and roll down, bringing our hands to the mat in front of the feet. And our goal is to keep the legs straight as we walk our hands forward. And we're walking out to our center plank. Shoulders slide down, chest is proud, legs are nice and strong. And then hips reach high, as if you're going into that downward dog pose. And with straight legs, we slowly walk the feet and the legs forward towards the hands, trying to press the heels down against the mat and keep the legs straight. Walking in until you can't walk in any further. And then we're going to curl and roll up and restack. And you can spin right around because you're back at the other end of your mat. Arms reach up nice and tall. We forward fold, curling and rolling down. Hands to the mat, and we slowly walk out, trying not to sway the body from side to side. Control the movement out to your center plank. Nice proud chest. Belly pulls in tight as you knit the ribs in and you push strong away from the floor. And then hips reach up nice and high. Slide those shoulders down the back. Press the heels to the floor. And then straight legs, walk the legs in, pressing the heels down. As you walk your legs in, as close to your hands as you can, dropping the head and then curling up and restacking the body one piece at a time. We're going to do 2 more. So again, we'll spin for ease. Reaching up nice and tall, nice and long. We're going to forward fold, curling and rolling down. Hands to the mat. We're going to walk out to our center plank position. Slide those shoulders down. Slight lift in the chest. You're pulling through inner thighs as you press your heels down towards the floor. Engaging your glutes, your back, and your abdominals, and hips go high. Slide those shoulders down the back. Stretch the legs straighter. We walk the feet and the legs in. One leg at a time. Trying not to sway. And exhale to curl up. And restack the back. One vertebra at a time. Our last one, we spin. And arms reach up. Nice and tall. We forward fold and curl. Curling down towards the mat. Hands walk out. Nice and slow. Out to that center plank. Sliding the shoulders down. Little lift in the chest. Don't let the head hang towards the floor. Push up strong away from your mat. And then in for that downward dog stretch as you slide the shoulders down, and then feet walk in, legs walk in towards your hands. Pressing the heels down, nice straight legs. And we curl up and we restack one vertebra, one piece at a time. Fingers interlace, hands behind the head. The chest lifts up for the ceiling. You're active in the legs and the glutes and your abdominals to protect your low back. And then back to center. And then we'll hinge from side to side. We're going to drop the rib cage over to the right towards that right hip. And then back to center. Tipping over to the left. Moving from side to side. Trying not to let your hips on this one kick out. You just want to move the rib cage, move the chest and the shoulders with the head and the neck from side to side. Last one to the left. And we'll come back to center. We're going to cross our right leg, right foot and ankle over the left. And we're going to do a forward stretch. So you can hinge with a flat back or roll down towards the floor. Your back left leg may get more of a stretch from the outside of the hip all the way down. And you can push the hips back a little further or rock onto your toes. So you can sway a little bit, moving the body from the ankle joint to change the pressure from the heels forward to the ball of the foot. And we'll restack, curl up or hinge up, and we'll change that leg cross. We'll cross left leg over right, and either hinge forward, flat back, or curl and roll down to the mat, to the floor. Weighting the feet evenly to start with, and then you can rock back and rock forward. One more. And curling up and restacking, standing nice and tall. Let's come down to our mat, laying flat on our back with our knees bent. And we're going to interlace our fingers, bring our hands back behind our head to support the head and the neck. And on our next exhale, we're going to fold at the mid-ribs to lift the head, neck, and chest, anchor into the tailbone so you've got that little gap at the small of the back. And we'll bring our right leg up to tabletop, and we'll work our single leg lowers, holding our chest lift as we hinge at the hip. So now we can watch and track that movement since we've added our chest lift to make sure that the knee isn't bending to find the mat. We're not trying to straighten the leg out to find the mat. It's just the hinge at the hip joint to help that leg and the foot find the floor. Right foot comes back in line with the sit bone. And we'll bring our left leg up to tabletop, and we're going to hinge at the hip. Keeping that nice fold along the mid-ribs. Your head and neck are safely supported by your hands and your arms. Feeling that even weight across the hips as the leg moves smoothly. And left foot rests back to the mat. We curl back, reset, shoulders and head back to the floor. Arms come nice and long down by your side. Walk your heels just a little bit closer to your sit bones. Not so much that you could touch your heels with your fingertips. And we're going to bridge. Strict bridge with a neutral spine or using that articulation, whichever you prefer. We're going to hinge up or curl up, lifting the hips nice and high as you press the knees forward towards the toes. And then curl and roll down, rolling along the spine piece by piece, all the way through back to the tailbone. Nice and smooth articulations all the way up and all the way down the back. Feeling that balance along the spine and across the back of the hips as you lift and lower. Last one. bring our legs up to tabletop position. We're going to fold at the mid-ribs to lift the head, neck, and chest. Let's interlace our fingers, bring our hands behind our head for that support. And we're going to alternate our single leg extensions, reaching out nice and long, stretching the leg fully, getting that full extension of the knee as you fold deeper at the mid-ribs. One more each side. And we're going to set the feet down, keep that little gap at the small of the back. And on our next exhale, chest is going to rotate with the shoulders over to the right shoulder blade, right underarm, and twist on the inhale through to center. Exhale, twist and rotate left and center. Nice smooth rotations from side to side. Keeping the hips and the legs nice and stable as the chest moves right to left. One more right, then left. And we'll reset the upper body back to the mat, back to the floor. Let's bring our legs up to tabletop position. Extend the right leg up towards the ceiling, and we're going to lower the right leg and slow to lift. Nice and smooth movement of that right leg up and down in line with the center of the right side of the hip. And we'll pause at the top. Take hold of that left knee, draw the left knee in towards the chest. And we're going to lift the head, neck, and chest and continue to lift and lower that right leg. Shoulders are sliding down. There's that nice deep fold at the mid-ribs as you reach that right leg out straighter and longer. And we'll bend the right knee, reset the legs to tabletop, lower the chest and the head back to the mat. Arms are long at your side. Left leg lifts towards the ceiling, straight and long, and inhale, lowering that straight left leg. And exhale to lift. We'll lift and hold with that high left leg. Pull the right knee in towards the chest. Lift the head, neck, and chest. And then left leg lowers and lifts. Slide those shoulders down. Find that deep fold through the mid-ribs. Drawing your belly to your back nice and strong. Left leg is stretching and lengthening. You're creating that space at the ankle, at the knee, in the hip as you reach the leg out. One more. And then we'll lower that left leg nice and straight. Drop the shoulders, head back. Pull that right knee towards your chest. In for that stretch. And we'll take that right leg cross body over towards the left shoulder. Try not to rotate the torso. You may feel a little lift of the right hip up off of the mat slightly as you draw that leg cross body towards your left shoulder. But let the collarbone spread wide. Flatten the shoulder blades down against your mat as you pull the rib cage in. Reaching that left leg longer. And then slow to unwind, and we'll switch sides. Right leg stretches out long across your mat. Shoulders are stacked down the back as you pull the left knee towards the chest. And then we bring that left leg cross-body over towards the right shoulder without rotating or twisting our spine. Oftentimes we'll take that leg cross-body and we'll really fully rotate. This one I want you to try to keep the weight through the shoulders, through the mid-ribs, and across the hips as best you can. You'll get a little lift of that left hip off of the mat, but we don't want to completely roll off the sacrum and onto that right side. One more breath. And slow to reset. Legs reach out nice and long, stretching across your mat, bringing the arms straight up towards the ceiling. We lower the arms as we lift the head, neck, and chest on that inhale, and then exhale to curl and roll up and reach forward and stretch out over the legs. And then we curl back piece by piece, rolling along the back, vertebra by vertebra. Arms reach nice and long out overhead for that stretch as you traction the arms out of the shoulder. And inhale, arms flow forward. Head, neck, chest begins to lift. Exhale to curl. And peel up off of the mat, reaching and lengthening out nice and long over the legs. And we curl up. And we restack the spine, sitting up nice and tall, nice and long. Sit up nice and tall out of your sit bones. You may need to adjust the position of your hips. And the arms reach forward. You can hinge with the flat back forward, or bring chin to chest, forward fold, and we reach out nice and long over those legs. You can reach for your legs or for your feet to pull yourself forward into that stretch. And then we'll curl up, we'll restack, fingers interlace, hands behind the head, and we're going to tip over to the right. Lift up strong through the center and over to the left. And center and arms come forward. We stretch forward out over the legs, either flat back or round back. And feel free to play around with the two positions. You could alternate between a flat back and a round back, as long as the rounded spine isn't contraindicated for you. And then we'll curl up, restack, fingers interlace, and we hinge right. Sit up tall, stretch long, we hinge left. One more forward fold or hinge, reaching out nice and long over the legs. And we'll curl up and restack. Fingers once again interlace, bringing our hands behind the head, sitting tall, and we hinge to the right, back to center, and we hinge left and center. We're going to come back up to a standing position for our last set of stretches and a bit of balance work. So we're going to start standing. Feel free to grab a prop, chair, find a wall. And we're going to start by grabbing that left foot, left ankle. And I want you to bring the knee forward slightly. So you can set the upper body nice and tall, nice and long. And then you're going to draw that left knee down and back. So we pull that stretch into the front of the thigh. Chest is nice and proud. We're stretching the spine nice and long. And then we'll drop that left foot back to the mat. And we'll reach for that right foot and right ankle. Again, I start with the knee forward because I want my spine nice and tall, nice and long. Stretching tall for the ceiling, strong with that left leg. And then we pull the right knee down and back for that stretch. Engaging the glutes as we press the hips forward. Chest is slightly lifted. One more breath. And then slow to drop the foot to the mat. We're going to step forward with the left foot, back with the right foot, and my left knee is bent. I'm going to use my thigh, or you could use your prop next to you for your left arm, and I'm going to place my left hand on my leg, and I'm going to twist through the mid-ribs, and then reach that right arm up. So again, if you have a prop, you could transfer your hand from your leg to the wall or to the chair, or your roller to reach up and stretch. Right arm is up, shoulders rolling back and down. We're driving that left knee forward towards the foot. And slow to unwind. Facing the other direction, the right foot is forward, the left leg is back. We're going to bend that right knee. And again, you can have your hand on the leg as you twist and rotate, or back on a prop. And we twist. Driving that right knee forward. Opening that nice split stance lunge, we reach up. And slow to unwind. Feet are either side by side or in your wide stance for more balance and support. We're going to interlace our fingers, pressing the palms away from us. We're going to reach the arms up overhead, chest lifts. Tighten up the legs and the glutes as you pull your belly to your back. 3, 2, 1. And then fingers are going to interlace. I'm going to point my index fingers towards the ceiling. And as I hinge to the right, this time I'm going to kick the hips out to the left. And you can have your feet, your legs as open or together as you feel comfortable in that position. Coming back to center. And we go to the other side. Wider stances, a little less of a stretch, but easier to balance in versus that side-by-side position of the legs as you side bend over. And we'll go one more each side. Coming back to center, reach up towards the ceiling, stretch nice and long, and then arms rest down by your side. All right, guys. Awesome work today. Thank you so much.